The release of the original Game Boy in 1989 changed the game. The handheld console would do a lot more than just play Tetris and Super Mario Land. Check out some of the craziest things the old device could do and stay tuned to see how you could still use your Game Boy for amazing things today. Before we begin, subscribe to The Gamer and don't forget to ring that bell to become part of our notification squad where you'll be the first to know of new content. Without further ado, here are 10 things you didn't know your old Game Boy could do. Sewing projects. As a kid, you probably heard a lot of comments from older people about using the portable gaming machine, such as how you should be playing outside and the problems with modern technology. Well, Nintendo found a solution to this and actually created a way for you to play the Game Boy with your grandma. Insert the Singer IZEK sewing machine, an automatic sewing machine compatible with your Game Boy Color device. Using a Game Boy cartridge and special connection ports, the sewing machine could create all types of patterns and run automatically through the Game Boy Color controls. Along with patterns and shapes, the Game Boy allowed you to easily sew on letters to different fabrics and create all types of texts for various applications. The odd pairing wasn't a massive hit, but the whole set even included an instructional VHS tape so players could learn how to sew and create patterns efficiently. The nice thing about sewing is the thread and needle are never outdated. You could still pick up the sewing machine online and use it with an operational Game Boy Color today. Despite not being a huge success, this clearly represented how powerful and versatile the Game Boy Color could be when used in different work applications. Catching fish. The best part of the Game Boy was expanding the ability to play no matter where you were. A set of batteries was all it took to start playing a game of Tetris or some Super Mario. This meant camping trips were no longer filled with hours of boredom staring into the fire. Not only was the Game Boy useful for laying in your tent, but an accessory made the device useful when you headed out on a boat. Officially known as the Game Boy Pocket Sonar, the Japanese device allowed you to track fish and underwater movements. The Game Boy screen was able to display water depth, movement, and large objects. The tether to the Game Boy was long enough to where you didn't need to worry about your Game Boy getting wet while still reading accurate results. Imagine the thrill of catching the biggest fish of your life and having video games to thank for it. Sony Playstation compatibility. As a kid, sometimes the Game Boy screen felt a little too small. For larger-than-life games, a bigger screen made it easier to see details and enjoy the various features. Nintendo knew this as well, which is why they released the Super Game Boy for the SNES and the Game Boy Player for the GameCube. Both devices allow you to play Game Boy games, and the GameCube had the ability to play Game Boy Advance games as well. We guess some players on the Sony side of things got a little jealous, because in the late 1990s, you could actually play your Game Boy games on a third-party device known as the Goldfinger. Essentially a code-hacking piece of hardware for the PlayStation, some models of the Goldfinger feature slots for Game Boy cartridges. Some games may have been glitchy or without sound, but by using the Goldfinger, you had PlayStation compatibility. It probably felt pretty good being the only kid on your block with the ability to play Pokemon with a DualShock controller. Like most third-party software, Goldfinger had its fair share of problems and patches were not instantly released like they are today. Along with playing Game Boy titles, you could use a variety of codes and in-game hacks similar to other devices like the Game Shark or Game Genie. 4-player action. The Game Boy wasn't really made for multiplayer action. As a child, it was easy to get lost in games while sitting alone in your room, hiding in the back corner of your library, or chilling in a car while your parents went grocery shopping. The Game Boy Link allowed a number of 2-player games and the ability to trade Pokemon, but things were taken a step further with the official Game Boy 4-player adapter. With the cabled adapter, you and 3 friends could sit in a small circle and enjoy a small selection of games compatible with 4-player action. The Link itself was made predominantly for use with the F1 Race and F1 Pole Position games. Besides racing, there was a generic tennis game and a puzzle game entitled Yoshi's Cookie. You and your friends could even toss out a real deck of Uno cards and go all digital with the 4-player game known as Uno Small World 2. Now, one of the best games was the rare Wario and Bomberman crossover known as Wario Blast. The game was a multiplayer version of Bomberman where Wario joined in on the mix. Players would try to blow each other up and be the last one left standing. The 4-player games also worked on the SNES Super Game Boy device. A television remote. One of the biggest hidden gems in Game Boy's history is the official Mission Impossible video game. On the surface, the game looks and feels like a crappy adaptation of the Tom Cruise movie series, But much like the characters peeling their masks off in the movies, the game has a lot of layers to it and some features worth checking out. In the menus showcasing bonus features and gadgets, one of the options allows you to turn your Game Boy Color into a working television remote. The Game Boy Color has a built-in IR receiver, which is commonly used for connecting two Game Boys. Mission Impossible took it one step further by allowing you to program the Game Boy to a TV or VCR. You could easily change channels, navigate through VHS tapes, and enjoy volume control. Along with the television remote functions, the game also allows you to send text messages to other players and save notes. You truly feel like a spy with the game. Just skip out on all the clunky platforming action and get to the fun stuff. Survive a war. With such a small screen and limited controls, the original Game Boy may have seemed bulky, but the extra plastic on the case had many benefits. Screens would crack less, the Game Boy would survive a fall, and for our soldiers, the device could make it through a war. In the early 1990s, the Gulf War sent many troops overseas, and in their downtime, the Game Boy proved to be the perfect way to zone out and forget about the airstrikes occurring overhead. At one point in the war, barracks were bombed. Nearly everything was destroyed, but after going through the rubble, something was discovered: a burned-up Game Boy console. The outer shell was darkened to a dark blackish color, but the screen and reverse side of the Game Boy remained unharmed during the bombing. The survival of the device was so impressive, Nintendo created their own display for it at Nintendo World in New York City. Not only does the display tell the story of how the Game Boy survived, but a power cable attaches to the Game Boy, and the console continuously runs a demo version of Tetris to prove that the device still works. If the Game Boy could survive a war, then we got a lot more confidence playing with it on the top bunk or in a tree fort. Pretty impressive considering how fast screens can crack in today's age. Transformed into luxury. The original Game Boy was nothing special when it came to looks. The color scheme included gray and, well, dark gray and some black D-pad controls on top of it, and a little splash of purple on the action buttons. Things became a little more colorful with the release of the Game Boy Pocket, and then Nintendo practically vomited colors when releasing all different versions of the Game Boy Color. Before the Game Boy Color was released, a company known as the Aspreys of London decided to add a little color to the Game Boy and mainly focused on gold. Not gold paint, real gold. The 18-karat Game Boy was enshrined in a fully gold case, and the screen featured a small diamond border around the edges. The blinged-out version of the Game Boy was still operational and would set you back around $25,000. The increase in gold and diamond values have probably made the 90s price of the Game Boy skyrocket if it was ever offered today. The value of the Game Boy made it one of the most expensive toys ever sold at an auction. You could probably find an original Game Boy at a flea market for less than $20 these days. Not a bad bargain, and free of the distracting diamonds. Tune into the radio. Music access is so easy these days, we often take it for granted. Back in the day, we had to purchase cassettes or pray that our favorite jam was playing on the local radio station. Once you left your car or home, radio access was limited. But the Boombox Boy looked for a way to change this. The Boombox Boy was an innovative accessory for the Game Boy that turned the portable console into a live radio. The radio could play through either the Game Boy speaker or through the headphone connection port. The Boombox Boy was a great way to hear jams on the bus, but it did come with some, we mean many, limitations. There was no way to select a specific radio station you wanted to listen to. There was a scan function which would automatically search when a station was found. The accessory came in multiple colors, allowing you to match the color of your Game Boy, but when the device was attached, it blocked the volume controls, forcing you to set a volume before you started listening. As a young kid, we couldn't complain too much, though. Music is music, and the free access through the radio was great before iTunes and Spotify hit the scene. Support your feet. The small size of the Game Boy Color made it an easy device to leave lying around. The screen was something you never wanted to step on because it could crack or get crushed, but in Japan, some designers turned stepping on the Game Boy into a fashion statement. In some of the most bizarre shoe designs ever made, there were several large platform shoes produced with the ability to hold a working Game Boy Color on the side. Thanks to the color scheme of the Game Boy Color, the shoes were designed to match with different models of the device. Some pairs even integrated with Pokémon designs and featured small Pikachu toys built into the heels. The limited edition designs seem more like they were made for display rather than practical footwear, but it would be nice to reach down and grab your Game Boy at any moment. The shoes are definitely a cool way to draw attention, but just make sure you don't step into any puddles while wearing them. Doing so would be one major mistake. Wow, well there you have it. Do you still own a classic Game Boy? What is your favorite Game Boy game of all time? Would you try any of these crazy hidden features? Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe to The Gamer so you can stay up to date with our awesome videos. Thanks for watching.